Hi there. Today's tale is about the time that I went on tour with a bunch of metalheads and discovered that metalheads are some of the coolest people on the planet. If you're new here, well, I'm just some crazy American that moved to Germany in 2001 and spent some time doing some interesting jobs traveling around Europe. Today, I'm going to babble about one of those jobs as a merch girl, selling band merchandise on tour. If that's something you're into, well, feel free to subscribe and join us. And as I say that, I need to send a shout out and a lot of love to all of my returning viewers and subscribers, because they're all pretty cool people, especially my members. I love you folks who have clicked that join button. You folks help me and this channel keep on going, and I really appreciate it. This video today is not monetized. You see, this tale that I'm sharing today, I don't wish to earn a penny from. If for some reason you feel the strange urge to throw some money around and you're in a position to do so, I would very much like to direct you to look in the description below. And I would direct you to check out the GoFundMe that is listed there. I'll explain more about that at the end of the video. So in 2009, I was divorced from the German that I had moved to Germany for, and I had moved on and was just trying to get my life together. Finding jobs was tricky, to say the least. But I had gotten lucky due to some close friends, family even I would call them. And after some time running around with the Bloodhound Gang selling their merchandise, little by little, I started to pick up some other gigs here and there with some other musicians. Trust me, it wasn't easy. There's a lot of people that don't want to hire a woman for that role. But I realized and I really felt in my heart that this is what I wanted to be doing. I've not only always loved music and admired artists, but if I may say so, I am one hell of a salesperson, especially if I can really get behind and support the product I'm selling or the people behind it. So when I heard that a merch person was needed for 3 bands for 2 weeks, I jumped at the chance. 3 bands worth of merchandise, t-shirts, CDs, posters, stickers, whatever, is a lot of merchandise to manage, let me tell you. And after hearing way too many things like, oh no, our girlfriends, wives, significant others would never like us having a girl on tour. After hearing BS like that way too many times, I jumped at this chance and I felt I could handle 3 bands. This tour was going to a lot of different locations, like Germany, Holland, Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, Czech Republic. This was for me a chance to build my resume, gain more experience at this job I really loved. So who were these 3 bands that I was going to be working for, traveling with, living with basically for 2 weeks? These folks. Entombed, Merauder, and DEVIOUS. And here is where we went. If you were by any chance at any of these concerts, let me know in a comment. And you better have bought a t-shirt from me. Yeah, so what did I know about these fine musicians that I was going to serve for the next 2 weeks and hopefully make them some dough in the way of merchandise money? Well, Entombed, I can tell you that, I wasn't a metalhead myself. I was more towards punk and New York City hardcore if we go back to my teen years, to my roots of loving music. However, I did, and still do, enjoy metal, as well as grew up around quite a few metalheads. So, yeah, when I heard the name Entombed, I was familiar, and I was excited and honored at this opportunity. And that second band there, Merauder, are you familiar with them? Well, as I've already stated, in my teen years, I was very much a fan of punk and New York City hardcore specifically, because I know I have a lot of German viewers, I need to make very clear this is not the hardcore garbage that you're familiar with, that from what I can tell involves meth heads. I grew up in Pennsylvania, not far from Philadelphia, also not so far from New York City. And in my teen years, the New York City hardcore scene was one of the coolest in my eyes. And therefore, I knew the name Merauder. An attempt to remain professional was made, but definitely on the inside, I was like, yes! And what of Devious? Well, Devious was, or is, I think they've broken up and separated into separate bands, different bands. Devious was a Dutch metal band. I had never heard of them before this tour, but if not after the first time hearing them on stage, definitely by the end of that tour, I was a fan. As often was on this job, I was the only female crew member on this tour. That's why I have to say it was quite a relief when I met these guys the first day. Started to get to know these dudes I'm going to be sharing a bus with and sleeping next to. I mean, we each get our own bunks, but still. I'm just saying it was quite a relief that I was immediately impressed. I had this really good feeling that I was surrounded by a bunch of good guys. And by the end of that tour, I was left with really such a sweet impression of what was my crew for those 2 weeks. And I felt really lucky to have been given that opportunity to spend some time with, work with, and get to know some of those really cool humans. I have to say, even though it was only a 2-week gig, I was really left with some cute and random memories that still make me smile and giggle. Well, I mean, they weren't all cute. That tour holds one of the most disgusting customer interactions I had in my career in sales. It was a metal festival, I want to say in Czech Republic. Your typical metalhead guy approaches my merch table. T-shirts are behind me. When I say typical, you know, he's got the hair down to here and he's got the denim jacket with all these epic patches he's been collecting and sewed on himself. But within the first few seconds of approaching my merch table and looking me in the eyes and beginning what I assume would have been just the request of, you know, a price of a t-shirt or something, instead, what happened when he opened his mouth was a giant wad of saliva, then proceeded, well, all time proceeded to move in slow motion at that point. As this giant wad of saliva left his mouth and slowly made its way into my direction and directly into my eye. Oh, it was disgusting. I had some paper towels. I wiped it away. So gross. And I remember this customer was so apologetic. I was pissed. In fairness, I was also tired as hell. Maybe a little hungover? So, you know, he was drunk. I mean, in all those years selling merchandise at concerts to drunk people, you learn real fast you gotta work on your dodging techniques because when people drink, they spit. They don't mean to, but they do. But I remember wiping my eye out and looking at this guy and I was so pissed off. I was just angry. But he's like apologizing and I'm like, you're buying 2 shirts now? And he was like, yes, I am, of course. But I have to say I realized that tour that I really liked selling to metalheads, and if I ever got the opportunity to do it again, I would jump at it. I'm just saying, if I stereotyped customers I've sold to, like I've sold to fans of hip-hop, I've sold to older people, I'm just saying, when I sold to metalheads, I was really surprised how freaking sweet a lot of them are. Like big teddy bears, big long-haired teddy bears in denim vests with skulls and blood on them. So many random memories, and definitely the fans I encountered on that tour stick out to me. I just remember another funny random memory. I'm setting up my merch stand. I don't even remember where we were. Maybe it was Austria. And I remember a certain musician we were touring with on that tour. I'm not going to out him. I just remember him proclaiming as he entered the club and was making his way to backstage, and he passed my merch booth I was setting up at the moment. He loudly informed me that I needed to locate some smokables tonight. Get that done. It just makes me giggle because if you've been watching my videos, like and I still have more stories coming. There's so many times when I was a merch girl hired to sell t-shirts, and I found myself doing quite a few other strange variety of responsibilities. I'm a multitasker. But I remember at that time I had a computer program installed on my laptop, and I was trying to learn Dutch. And this was a program that like showed you pictures, and it helped you to learn from every different direction, from seeing, from hearing, so it played audio, you could speak back. And so for example, like if we had a situation where we're just sitting in the bus and we're traveling for a few hours, I was sitting and doing this, trying to learn Dutch. I thought then it was really cool when some of the dudes from DEVIOUS, that Dutch metal band, they decided to help me and practice with me. We all sat there and said these little sentences together. I can't explain it to you, but their singer, he could reach this pitch with his voice. And the way that he said, "Het meisje is op het paard," will forever stick in my ears. That sentence began to be a sentence that us in the crew were randomly throwing at each other at very random moments on that tour, and it still makes me giggle. Oh, and I remember this tour was a lot of festival gigs, right? And I think we had like 2 gigs where this one particular arrogant singer of also a metal band, he was there too. And I remember like us having conversations because we realized like the crew of this arrogant singer's band seemed miserable. Our crew was having a blast on this tour. I think we were all working well together and also having fun together. Most importantly, no drama. But I remember being at this festival and hearing tell, about that this singer had started to make some demands. And I remember as, we gossiped about this a little bit, we all each had our own experiences. Like the sound guy had worked by their sound guy. I, the merch girl, had worked by their merch guy. Quite honestly, it was a little sad. They all seemed miserable, but if I was working for that douchebag, I would have been miserable too. Oh, and when I say that guy was arrogant, he was trying to pull some, Katy Perry level shit. One of these moves where he tells, the organizers and the promoters and such to let all of the crew know they shouldn't do little things like look him in the eyes, or even think that they can go into catering when he's in there. I heard about this, and I was like, I don't even know who this dude is. I never even heard of his band. How you gonna tell me I can't go backstage, take a shower, and grab something to eat when I never even heard of you? Get over yourself. But boy, that still does make me giggle when I think back to that stark contrast. It's a festival atmosphere. Everybody's in their positions. Sound guys and lighting guys, merch people, musicians backstage. And I was really struck with how damn good I had it because I was with 3 bands and their crew people, and all of us were getting along great. And I'll never forget being at a metal festival towards the end of this tour. Arrogant Metal Singers band is there again. And I'm in my merch area, which is essentially a hallway near an entrance door. It's kind of cold, not kind of comfortable. Tables lined up. And all the different bands participating in the festival, their merch is there being sold by their merch people. And I can remember it clear as day. I'm there, I'm chugging a Red Bull, I'm feeling kind of rough and I'm kind of tired. But I'm happy. I'm happy in the job I'm in. I'm happy with the people that I've worked with. And I'm overwhelmed by the experiences I have because of all of this. And I remember looking, I can still see it in my head. I remember looking around this merch area at all the different merch people. And the majority of them looked miserable and unhappy. Really, some of them that you could look at and they just looked like, why am I here? I hate my life. And then I was looking and I see the merch people that are just like, they're over it. They're just like, I don't give a shit if anyone buys a shirt tonight. I'm here. I'm doing my job. I'm going to play with my phone now. I was flying high. I was in a good situation and feeling good about things. This whole atmosphere made me kind of want to giggle a little bit. But then I'll tell you what. That's when a Mr. L.G. Petrov, singer of then now entombed AD, came out from backstage and paid little old me, the merch girl, a visit at my merch booth. And he didn't come empty-handed. The guy thought of me because dinner time was going on backstage and brought me a meal. He made me a plate, like with chicken and broccoli and potatoes. It was full. It was beautiful. The singer of a band. I'm just a merch girl. You have to understand, like, that is just mind-blowing. I have worked with musicians that bring people on tour with them that are there to only do things like that for them. Like, go get that singer his meal and wash his underpants. And here I am, and the singer of this band that I'm working for, the dude, the reason people are paying tickets and lining up to get in here and see him on stage tonight, that dude is bringing me a chicken dinner. I'm just saying, in the hierarchy of that line of work, that is not something normal or any merch person should expect to happen. It is completely normal that someone in my crew would think of little old me out there selling the shirts, hopefully come and bring me food or relieve me so I can go get food. But the fact that I'm sitting right next to a very sad and miserable looking merch guy who works for a really arrogant musician, I'm sitting right next to him while the singer of my band is bringing me dinner. Mind-blowing. Too damn sweet. When I sit and think about it, I think he did this for me more than a few times, or at the very least, like, checked on me, which, again, he didn't have to do. In fairness, maybe there was a little bit of give and take there, because I also did find it quite adorable how often, as he would pass my merch booth, he would ever so politely and humbly come up to me and ask me if I had a cigarette for him. You know I did. Considering his current health situation, I kind of feel like a real dick. I'm just gonna say it. It was only 2 weeks on that tour, and I wouldn't be surprised if, none of them or some of them didn't even remember me, the little merch girl that worked for them for 2 weeks. But I repeat, I was really impressed. And I left that tour a much bigger fan of all of those bands. But especially the humans within those bands and the people that worked with them. So when not so long ago, I had read online and social media that L.G. Petrov had been diagnosed with cancer and is currently receiving chemo to try to control it. My heart broke a little bit. And I keep my eyes and ears open for updates online, and I came across an article from Metal Hammer with L.G. Petrov, talking about his fight with cancer. In this article, he mentions having a GoFundMe page and how it has been quite successful, quite helpful. But then I also read in the article that he aims to donate a portion of those proceeds to an organization called Barncancerfonden, which is a Swedish children's cancer fund. And that touched my heart. I thought, yeah, that sounds like that nice guy I met. The day when I woke up, I think it was on Instagram, I saw another short little video about a support campaign for L.G. Petrov. I'll include that link below as well. But when I woke up this morning, I'm telling you, I really just felt like I needed to make this video. I wanted to tell this tale. And I thought I could just, link to that GoFundMe down below in the description. And maybe just help spread the word. Maybe I can reach a few other metalheads that want to show some support for a legendary metalhead. I mean, I was only lucky enough to work around him for 2 weeks, and the guy left such an impression on me. Such an interesting character, so down to earth, and he's got a huge heart, it seems. I feel very lucky and honored to have met LG Petrov. Side note, the few years that I worked in that job, as a roadie, as a merch girl on tour for musicians, they weren't all good times. And I could fill up hours of videos talking about being flat out sexually discriminated from jobs, sexual harassment, any of the many of the things that it seems like the world is just now waking up to in light of the Me Too movement, but I think are pretty, unfortunately, normal, I repeat, when you're a female trying to work in a male-dominated career. There's a lot of things against you. A lot of times where you're put in a position to really prove yourself as an equal. And unfortunately, there are times where you're treated as more as an object than a thinking human being. But I'll tell you what, it's those bad times that make the good times so valuable to me. And so much more worth my time and my headspace. And I think it's important that, yes, that we stand up to bad when bad things happen. Open your mouth. Try to fix things. Just as quick as I am to bitch about the bad, I think it is also very important to acknowledge and say thank you for the good things and for the good people that we meet in this life. And today I just wanted to take a little second and do just that. I want to dedicate this video to Mr. LG Petrov, legendary metal singer. Thank you for everything that you have done, first off and foremost, for metal and the energy you bring when you perform. But more so, thanks for just being a good human being. And from one humble little merch girl that only spent 2 weeks with you, thank you so much for not only not being one of the creepy guys, but for being one of the freaking sweetest characters I think I've ever met, and you still hold a little place in my heart. Sends you a lot of love and strength. With all that said, I thank every single one of you for watching this. As I've already stated several times, all links that I mentioned are listed below in the description. First one being that GoFundMe. I appreciate you all lending me your ear and listening to my tale today. I was able to dig up just a few pictures from that tour, me with my merch, and our badass crew. So I'll leave you with those pictures, and until the next time that we meet, you do your best to take care of yourself.